If you live in a high-price market, it can make sense to invest in real estate long distance. But how do you build a team and find good deals from thousands of miles away, especially if you're a new investor? In this episode, I'm talking to a rental investor who did exactly that. He lives on the West Coast, and he successfully built a rental portfolio in the Midwest. And of course, I asked him exactly how he did it so I could share it with you. So let's get started. Welcome to the podcast, Real Estate Investing with Coach Carson. I'm your host, Chad Carson. You can also call me Coach Carson. And this is a show to help you get out of the financial grind so you can spend your time doing more of what matters. In this episode, I interview Mike from the YouTube channel, Millennial Mike, and it was actually recorded live on site at the One Rental at a Time event in Las Vegas, hosted by my friend and fellow real estate YouTuber, Michael Zuber. I want to thank Michael for letting me use his awesome recording studio and for letting me share it with you. Now let's get to our conversation. If you were to start from scratch, you're starting in a new market. First of all, who would you try to start building on your team first? And then let's go into the weeds of how you would actually find some of these people, even talking to them, finding them. I'd love to hear your take on this.
Yeah, it's funny because it's a little counterintuitive. Most people, I ask them all the time because people come up and say, hey, how do I get started investing in the distance? Who's the most important person on my team? And I ask them, who is the most important person? And a lot of people are like, well, it's probably your property manager. Maybe it's your real estate agent, the contractors, all these different members of your team you need to make sure you operate a property successfully. And I tell them, those are great choices, but the most important person on your out-of-state investing team are the other investors in that market that are doing it successfully. What you need is a network of mentors and peers, people that aren't trying to sell you anything. They're not going to make any money off of you. They've already gone ahead and accomplished the things you want to accomplish. Now what you need to do is figure out how to find, befriend, and then learn from these people all so you can steal their team. I mean, of course, you're going to give them credit for it, but you're there to get their recommendations for property managers, agents, and contractors. You don't need to do the trial by fire yourself. You need to say, you got 100 properties? Hey, who manages them? Can I get their phone number?
I love that answer. Okay, so let's go there. So you start in this new market. You've decided to invest in Indiana, and you live in California. And I know that's the case. I need to meet other investors. How do I even go about meeting those people? Where do I go?
So thank God for the internet. For all of its faults and failings, it did bring us all here together today.
Exactly.
What I tell people to do, the first thing they need to do is they need to go on Facebook and they need to type in South Bend, Indiana Real Estate Investing Group. And then they need to type in Indiana Real Estate Investing Group and Northwest Indiana and 3 other cities that are big in Indiana. They're going to get about 10 to 15 different real estate investing group suggestions. You need to join all of them. Then once you've joined them, you go and you start looking through who's posting a lot. Because guess what? Everybody's saying, who's a good property manager? And then there's 30 responses from other landlords in your city. You leave a couple comments, go back, read some posts, send a friend request to one of those guys, ask if you can chat with them for a few minutes. Facebook is one way you attack the problem. My next favorite way is YouTube, because there's a bunch of Coach Chad Carsons with 86,000 big guy real estate guys out there that we would all love to talk to. But in reality, you're a really busy guy and you got 86,000 people watching your content. You don't have the time to give somebody the individual attention that they need to really be successful in a market. But then there's people like me with 8,000 subscribers. And my average video gets, 500 views. When somebody leaves a comment or when somebody messages me on Instagram, I actually see it. I actually have the time to respond to them. And so I make videos about investing in real estate, but mostly I make videos about investing in Gary, Indiana or Northwest Indiana real estate. And so everybody who's interested in that area finds me on YouTube. They can have a real conversation with me. And then I share my team. I let them steal from me. Who do you need? Property managers, agents, contractors, all of that. So you need to go to YouTube and you need to figure out what city you're interested in. Grand Forks, North Dakota, Tulsa, Oklahoma, real estate investor. There's 3 or 4 people out there posting on a lackluster channel like mine that are happy to have a conversation.
As I might say, people need to check your channel out.
I appreciate that. But yeah, they're posting on a channel and you could reach out to this person who will talk to you, who will become your friend. And it's funny, a lot of the people that I invest with in Indiana, I have met because of virtual networking, watching a channel, watching a video, or vice versa. And it might be 2, 3, 4 years before I ever meet them in person. And much like this conversation right now, I've watched your videos for years. I feel like I know you. You have no idea who I am until yesterday. But it goes that way for people to me. They feel like we're friends because they sit down and watch a video with me every day. And then when I get that chance to hang out with them, we're friends and I share the info.
what's brilliant about this to me is like, I think we all kind of get used by the internet, so to speak. You know, we have the Instagram making us click on likes. What I'm hearing from you though is like, use it yourself proactively with a plan. So this is almost like you're going in with a business plan saying, I know number one, I want to invest in this market. I know number two, I need to meet a network of people. So just being proactive, like you're going on YouTube for 30 minutes with a plan to say, I'm going to comment on these 3 channels.
Yes.
I'm going to connect with them. And what people don't realize, I mean, me too, like I watch my comments. I notice the people who comment on every single video.
Oh yeah.
You recognize them.
Yep.
And so you're more likely to get noticed in a world of just lots of noise if you add value. And don't just comment saying, oh, you're brilliant, Mike. Say like, hey, Mike, that was a good comment. What do you think about this? Like add value to it. Or, hey, whenever I did this, I had this problem. Could you help me thinking about that? Like that adds value, because as a YouTuber, I love it when people create a conversation under the video, because that makes that video so much more valuable.
Agreed.
So I think this is an excellent strategy. And so you start with Facebook groups, you start with YouTube channels. And I could also think about it. I'm sure there's a lot of other ones, Reddit groups. There's tons of like networking opportunities out there. You meet people, you connect with them. And so do you just jump right to like, hey, can I ask you for a property manager? Do you build relationships with these people? How have you, like, specifically, how have you done it?
It's a great question. So this is the part where I bring in my police officer background, right? I'm very good at interviewing people. And it's amazing how you would think that in the criminal mind that they would not want to tell you things, right? They want to admit their guilt. If you just ask people questions and listen and don't talk, people will tell you everything. The amount of stuff that I've learned just by being quiet within 5 feet of the lumberjack landlord is amazing. And one of the main criticisms that I have for so many people who want to get started, and I'm sure you've seen this before, they'll come up to you and they'll tell you everything they know. I love having conversations with people, but if you're trying to get started and you're near somebody who's really, really successful, you want to listen 90% of the time, and your 10% of the times are questions and thank you. And so what I do when I reach out to people, I just ask them about their journey, their process, what they did. I don't tell them anything that I did. If they ask me a question, I'll answer. What did you do? How did you get there? And you just listen actively, respond back to them, ask them a follow-up question. People love to talk about themselves and they'll tell you everything. They'll give you the keys to the castle.
Isn't that amazing? I remember when I was a new investor, I remember reading the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by, who's that? Carnegie. And he always said, people love their own name and people love to talk about themselves. If you just remember that, it's just like, it's like a little, you know, we're all selfish human beings, all of us, right?
Agreed.
So we love that. We love to, so you just let them talk. I've also noticed something you do, I think, is you figure out ways to add value to them. And
I try.
Can you give an example maybe of an investor long distance you found who you figured out a way to help them, and like now they're like, oh, I owe Mike a little bit. He's helped me out. This is great.
That is one of the best things that you can do. It can be a little tricky to figure out how to add value to investors. I'll touch on that in a second, but we're here right now at this event for Michael Zuber. I was the second interview ever on his channel in 2018. Brand new to real estate investing, just bought myself a house hack. And he lives in California. I posted in a Facebook fan page of Graham Stephan, me holding a picture of a key. And Michael Zuber reaches out and he says, hey, you want to come on and be interviewed on my channel? He has less than 2,000 subscribers. Sure, I'd love to. Well, over the next few years, I build a friendship with Mike every chance I get. Mike, would you like me to edit some videos for you? I got some topics for you that some people in your comment section want to discuss. I noticed that you respond to all your comments, but a lot of times it's just a quick response. These topics right here are coming up in all your videos. What if I pose these to you in a video, or what if I send you a video that you could respond to, and then I'll do the editing, boom, it's for your channel.
Wow.
And that's how I get somebody with almost 200 rental units, 25 years of experience to become my free personal mentor, and I didn't have to pay $1,000 an hour. I just did the work. So that's one way I stole an investor to be on my side. But how you get the actual mentors out there? So for me, I had a friend who was investing in Indiana already. In fact, you know him, Maskey. He was a little further ahead of me, about 10 rental properties. And he was saying I should give it a shot. I was like, I don't know, man. I've Googled Indiana, and it's a little questionable out there. And he kept telling me I should try it. But what I did, rather than argue with him or insult him or ignore him or anything like that, I asked him and asked him and asked him. He shared with me his team, shared with me his stories, his success, much like I talked about earlier. And I didn't argue with him about it. I just decided, all right, you know what? I need to go out there, not make excuses. I at least need to do him the respect of calling these people. And you start calling these people, and the beauty of reporting back to a mentor and letting them know you actually took action on what they asked you to do.
Huge. That's huge.
It's one of the best feelings when you tell someone to do something and they listen to you. And that's how you get people who not only are on your team and want to see you succeed, but they're so invested in you at that point, they won't let you fail.
As someone who's given advice to people and then they've just run with it and done nothing, hearing you say that, like when somebody comes back and said, hey, on your video, you told me to do this and this, and I went and did that, and now I have this question. Automatically they move into like the top 1%, right?
Yeah.
Because they took action and they did it. And again, we're all selfish. We're like, oh, I'm brilliant. I listen to that advice, no matter how humble we try to act. So I love this. So, all right, first level here, which we spent a lot of time on, which is amazing, is you got to build a network of other investors because ultimately that's going to be the people you go back to. Property managers might come and go, agents might come and go, but your network of friends, fellow investors, that's gold. That's amazing. And so we've talked about how to get that. But once you get some advice from people, like talk to this property manager, talk to this real estate agent. I get people who get stuck on that stage, particularly the introverts in the room, people who know how to run the numbers, but like, oh my God, I got to talk to somebody and ask them a question. What do I even ask them? I'm not a real estate investor yet. So can you talk to me about when you actually, let's take a property manager. If you're going to talk to the property manager, what do you want to learn from them to maybe discern if they're a good person to be on your team? Like, number one, how do you approach them? Is it just a cold call? Number two, what are you trying to learn from them to figure it out?
So in my case, back to the fact that I've already networked with other mentors and other investors in the area, I'm going to ask, hey, would you do an introductory email? Because I now get to piggyback off the success of somebody else and a little bit of the reputation of another investor. This is also really beneficial when you start in a new market and you have one rental property, which represents to that property manager maybe $80 to $100 a month.
Yeah.
As much as they might be great people, they don't care about your 80 to 100 to the same degree they care about somebody else's 8,000 to 10,000 because they own all these rental properties. And so I asked for an introduction email. I say, hey man, if I get one, and if I don't, then I just reach out myself and say, hey, I heard about you from so-and-so investor. They said you do a great job. Is there any chance that I could give you a phone call, chat with you about your process? Now, obviously, when you're talking to a property manager, for example, you still want to make sure that you do click with that individual because there are just, for whatever reason, personality quirks. Some people don't get along no matter how good they are at the job. But you'll be able to figure out if you're talking to enough investors and in enough Facebook groups and watching enough YouTube videos, you'll start to notice these three managers get mentioned a lot. These three do as well, but not in a good way. These are the guys who are doing all the work when it comes to doing the roofs. Nobody's hiring this guy. And then you just take that list that you've compiled, instead of going to Google and typing it in and hoping that the Google reviews, which are bought and paid for, are honest. They're not. You get that reviews list, that referral list, and then you call from that. And then you figure out who you like the best from there.
I like it. Are there any red flags if you're talking to a property manager and you hear X, you're like, no way, not good, or just you've had bad experience with people that if you would have known that, you would have run away from the beginning?
I think a major red flag that probably applies to so many aspects of life. If somebody's willing to talk trash about somebody else and you don't know the person, there's a difference between me and a really good friend of mine having a conversation about somebody that we're concerned is maybe not doing something right. But if someone you don't know or barely met is talking trash about other people, that's a huge red flag. And that will come back to burn you. So always be aware of that. Red flags I look for when it comes to property managers: how many of your tenants that you placed are you doing evictions on? I buy a lot of properties from slumlords. I love slumlords. I buy cheap properties from them all the time. They should go to jail, but I love their properties. Thank you. And especially when they finance it to me.
We can turn them around and actually deliver some value to our
tenants. Exactly. But if you're buying a property with tenants, there's a lot of times where an eviction's coming. So I don't grade them on that. It's not the property manager's fault. But if they're consistently placing tenants and those tenants are being evicted, what's going on here? There's a problem with your system of how you vet tenants, and I can't do that.
So we've talked about property managers. We've talked about investors. There's one other one that I get a lot of questions about is your long distance. All the local people have advantages finding deals every year. And so how do you build a team, or do you build a team of people to help you find deals? Like how would you go about that?
So this is something that I talk about a lot, and that's virtual networking. And maybe I have this benefit because I grew up playing video games and playing Halo and Call of Duty in the Xbox Live lobby and a little World of Warcraft. I'm a nerd. But I realized that when I would go home from school and not hang out with my real life friends, and instead I would spend time with my internet friends, and I would talk to these guys every day that I'd play games with, you start to develop a friendship. You learn about their lives. You can actually become real life friends with people because you spend the time with them, even if you've never seen them in person. Well, you do the same thing when it comes to other investors out there. And you can develop those friendships, and those friendships will protect you. So when it comes to finding deals, I've found that in the last couple of years, most of my deals have been some form of creative financing, and it's all come from my network. It's all come from off market. So a lot of people go, well, all right, maybe I believe I could be friends with those people, but still, how do I become friends with those people? I encourage everybody to start a YouTube channel and please have an Instagram page. I don't need you to be an 86,000 subscriber Coach Carson level of success on YouTube. What I want you to do is be the king of Tulsa, Oklahoma, with 400 subscribers on your channel, but all 400 are real estate agents and wholesalers and people who are trying to buy and sell in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You don't need millions of views. You need a couple hundred people in that market to know your name. And if you make a video that's titled, How to Invest in Real Estate, I'm competing with Graham Stephan, Meet Kevin, Grant Cardone, Chris Crow. I'm not 100 pages of search results. You'll never find my name. But if I make a video titled How to Invest in Gary, Indiana, and anybody can watch this and look, How to Invest in Gary, Indiana, I'm the first 100 results because I'm the only guy that makes those videos. You just need to own your little market. That's it.
This is totally unrelated, but related to that search engine. Have you ever heard where you can hide a dead body on the internet?
Where?
Page 2 of YouTube or Google.
For absolutely, dude. Nobody ever gets there.
Never
right?
get there. You'll never find it.
Yeah. So to the point I made, like, just make sure that you own, Hardin County, Kentucky, or Grand Forks, North. That's your spot on the internet. All the deals come to you.
Yeah, it's so creative. I like thinking outside the box. There's a lot of advice out there about, going to a real estate agent, which I have bought a lot of properties with real estate agents, but getting off market, using that network you talked about, but also creating your own brand. Like that's the opportunity of today, whether you create a YouTube channel, an Instagram channel. I've even had the idea, if I were starting over, I think I would do like a local podcast, maybe on YouTube as well, where I would interview the local mayor. I would interview the local zoning codes person. I would interview all the local real estate agents. Again, I might get 200-300 views, but those people will give you their attention because they're trying to promote themselves. They're trying to get out there. And how much would you learn? What kind of relationships would you build?
Right.
It's amazing. So I love that advice. So ultimately, you've gotten a lot of your deals from networking, and you've been able to vet them with your existing network. You got a property manager you trust. Is there anything else you would, as we close here, like what else would you say for someone who's long distance, who's building a team? Do we miss anything that would really help them out and kind of help them close the loop on their team?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when it comes to the team, I talked about everybody you should talk to, everything that you should do. But I highly encourage you, I would give people advice when it comes to investing at a distance. Sometimes these people from California, Seattle like me, when we're used to houses that cost $800,000 and you see one that costs $80,000, you immediately go, this must be a deal.
Yeah.
Bro, you can go broke buying cheap. If it's been on the market for 50 days and it's $80,000, every local investor's looked at that thing and said, there's something wrong with it. So just make sure that before you buy anything, especially the first 1, 2, or 3, you go to your network and you chat with that mentor, you chat with that fellow investor, not your agent who gets a commission, not your property manager who wants a commission, the guy who's not making any money off you. What do you think about this? And even one step better, ask them what they buy and then just copy and paste.
Exactly. Yeah, this goes back to advice that Michael Zuber and I really like, and I give to all my audience and students, is build a buy box ahead of time. And there's no better person to ask to help you build a buy box, which is basically your definition of what a good deal is, than the other people in your network. Have them pick it apart. Say, I think I want to buy 3-bedroom, 2-bath, brick ranches with crawl spaces in the 29631 area code. What do you think about that? They'll be like, well, 29631 is not as good as this one. You're not gonna be able to buy, don't pay more than this in that zip code, but you'll be able to like kind of hone in your buy box. And then whatever lead source you have, you're now more confident that that's a good deal. And then you can run it by your friends too. So
Agreed.
Really good advice, Mike. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
If people want to hang out with you, they should connect with you on your YouTube channel. I'll have links to your YouTube channel, but is there anywhere else they can connect with you offline?
Just Millennial Mike on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. You'll find me there.
Love it. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Great talking to you.
You too.
In this video, we covered building a team and finding deals as a long distance investor. But if you're brand new to the rental investing game, there are a lot of steps you need to know before buying your very first deal. So my next video is called How to Confidently Buy Your First Rental Property in 10 Steps. These are the exact same steps thousands of investors have used to buy their very first rental property, and they're the same steps I've used to buy hundreds of rental properties myself. You can watch the video by clicking the link above me here or by clicking the link in the podcast or YouTube description below.